Power Rangers Samurai hit the ground running. If you can remember the 2010s, then you probably saw the Samurai Rangers everywhere you looked. McDonald's Happy Meals, toy shelves covered from top to bottom, video games, TV appearances. It truly felt like for the first time in a long time that the Power Rangers were back. So much so that we even got a new Power Rangers movie. Kinda. Clash of the Red Rangers was a made-for-TV special, where the Samurai Rangers would team up with the RPM Rangers. This is extra exciting, considering the last two seasons in Jungle Fury and RPM, ironically enough, never had crossover specials. Now, Power Rangers Samurai as a season is kinda meh. I mean, I liked it a bit, but wouldn't judge anyone who said it's the worst thing they've ever seen. Which makes its crossover with RPM interesting, considering that's a season that's universally loved and also has a bit of a different tone than Samurai. I'd say this movie is more intriguing than anything else. Going into it with the quality that Samurai's given us so far, you wouldn't be wrong to feel skeptical. And after watching Clash of the Red Rangers,
wow, that was the worst piece of crap I've ever seen.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Let's jump into it. The movie opens up in Corinth, with Scott doing battle with Professor Cog. You know, the iconic Professor Cog. He's also for some reason piloting the Megazord by himself. He defeats Scott and says he has bigger plans, to destroy not only this universe, but another one as well. Yeah, this movie actually establishes that the RPM world is set in an alternate universe, beginning the confusion that would become the Power Rangers timeline. Anyway, Professor Cog, oh yeah, he's just a random general that we never see in RPM, but is apparently close enough to Venjix that he gets sent on important missions. I'm actually willing to buy that, considering if his job is to hop between dimensions and try to rule them in the name of Venjix, then it makes sense as to why we would never see him in RPM. I'm just being nice with that though, because believe me, the niceness is about to end. The crossover also takes place during the events of RPM, hence why Scott is still a ranger. Professor Cogden shows up in the Samurai universe via train. Not one that looks magical, mind you, just a train that passes by Upper Manhattan. Professor Cog meets up with Xandrid and says he wants an alliance. He wants to use the Sanzu River water to poison Corinth's water supply, and in exchange, he says he'll destroy the Samurai Rangers. So him and the Grinders start attacking the city. The Rangers show up to fight, but their spin swords have no effect on them. Luckily though, Scott got a train ticket and blasts at the Grinders.
Why, hello there! Oh, what?
Huh?
What?
Jaden?
What do you mean, Jaden? Anyway, Scott's here. Ranger Operator Series Red. He shows him how it's done by taking down the Grinders by himself. It's pretty cool, but gets ruined by some epic commentary.
Hey, hotshot! You almost took my head off!
I almost sounded like a human.
Time to get in gear!
Yeah, remember when Scott would say that all the time during fights? And with his Nitro Blaster and Nitro Sword, he wipes out the Grinders. He kinda rubs the Samurai Rangers the wrong way with his arrogance. Yeah, you remember, Scott's iconic arrogance. Scott explains that he comes from another dimension, and that he's hunting down Professor Cog. So they take him to the Shiba house to hopefully learn more.
There's no TV, no video games?
Anyway, they want Scott to take off his helmet so they can see his face. However, he says that he's not sure if he can breathe this dimension's air, saying,
I don't know if I can breathe the air here. In my dimension, we've been forced to live in a domed city, just to avoid the toxic atmosphere the robots have created.
Yeah, the toxic air outside Corinth that the Rangers, on multiple different occasions, have gone outside too, no helmet, breathing totally fine, even getting into fights and not once complaining about the oxygen. The reason for this is that they needed a reason to have Scott be morphed the entire episode. But why? When I first saw this, I just assumed that Eka Darville, the actor who played Scott, wasn't available to reprise his role, so they instead just found a guy who sounds like him and went with that. However, the real reason is a little more complex. You see, this is Eka Darville. The reason he can't show his face, though, is because he's with the union. The Actors Union. SAG, I think, I don't know. And Power Rangers is a non-union show. The classic Saban treatment where you're underpaid and can't do anything about it. The union acts as a way to combat that, and to my knowledge, union actors are not allowed to be in non-union shows. That's a big no-no. However, Eka Darville is clearly a cool guy, wanting to show some love to probably his biggest role at the time. So how is this allowed? Well, if you never show his face, you can't prove that it's him. It's why if you go to the credits of this episode, yes, hello SpongeBob, you'll see him credited as Tobias Reese. a fake name. Now, while I could give kudos for working around this whole thing, I kinda can't. You see, team up and crossover episodes work because you get to see the characters interacting with each other. I want to see how Scott plays off of, Jaden? Maybe not. There's a moment where Mia's cooking and she asks if Scott wants some, and his reaction is this. It's his helmet. There's nothing to work with here. I'll always remember what Saban said to Austin St. John, Walter Jones, and Tui Trang, saying how the helmet sells the toys. The actors and characters don't matter. As long as kids see the helmet and the Rangers, that's all they'll care about. And I could feel a lot of that influence here. However, it's not impossible to make this work. You can still have clever writing with the characters even if we can't see Scott's face. Which leads us to problem number 2.
Oh, you're mad because I took out those grinders for you.
This is not Scott. Scott is a very serious character. He's a strong character who doesn't take guff from anyone. He's very mission-oriented. But here...
Yeah, right. You guys really are all about being old school.
They for some reason make him an arrogant smartass who's ragging on the Samurai Rangers for being outdated and having no technology. This is nothing like Scott. However, the Scott we know and love really wouldn't have much to work with when it comes to the Samurai Rangers because the Samurai Rangers are blank, boring slates. Ah well, luckily the rest of the RPM team are loaded with charisma.
I'm Scottish!
The Rangers get called to another grinder attack. Scott of course joins and they all fight Professor Cog, who shoots both Scott and Jaden with hypno bolts. You might have an idea of what they do. He's then going to shoot a teleport blast that will take them both to Corinth. However, the Samurai Rangers jump in and take the hit and get transported there themselves. Nice! So the Samurai Rangers then meet up with the RPM Rangers, who are dealing with the Grinder and Nylok attack. Not only that, but Decker and Serrator show up, and who else would take them on than the Megaforce Rangers? Wow, alright, now this movie's a 10 out of 10! Oh no, wait, I'm sorry. This is a different movie. This is the Sentai crossover, yeah, my bad. Anyway, back to Samurai. The Samurai Rangers get teleported to Corinth, and that's it. We never cut to them or see their adventures. Instead, we have to follow Jaden and Scott, with all of their infinite chemistry. The Hypno Bolts start taking effect, making both the Red Rangers more and more agitated with each other. They head to the Shiba house where their bickering continues. Oh no. Also, I forgot to mention Antonio. His actor, Steven Skyler, was also unavailable to film this movie. Apparently off filming an episode of Glee, so instead we get a guy doing the worst Antonio impression ever.
That wasn't Jaden, was it?
And by that, I mean he's doing a bad Hispanic accent.
Fantastico!
Come on, get it right! Steven Skyler is a great Hispanic who will not have his culture desecrated. Oh wait, what's that? What's that? He's Thai? As in Thailand? As in the Thailand that's not close to Mexico? But what about all of his Fantasticos and Muy Buenos? Oh no. I don't think you can do that. So we have not one, but 2 Rangers who either can't show their face or are literally not here. I mean, damn, if you don't care about the bad MMPR Season 2 dubbing, play the dub.
Alright, lip syncer, time for the power of thunder!
Then why not have all the RPM Rangers show up and just poorly dub them over? I'd still hate it, but at least you try. Anyway, there's another attack, and Scott and Jaden, still feuding with each other, decide to race there. Jaden with his horse, and Scott stealing Mentor's motorcycle. The race goes on for way too long, and it's definitely not as cool as they think it is. They get to the quarry, and instead of fighting the enemy, they're fighting with each other. Oh my goodness, play the epic music! The Hypno Bolts have become too strong. Jaden and Scott have decided that there can only be one true Red Ranger. So, they selfishly start battling, the Moogers and Grinders watching with excitement, as Earth's last line of defense are fighting amongst themselves. Scott shoots his Nitro Blaster at Jaden, while Jaden throws his Spin Sword at Scott. However, it was all a ruse to trick Professor Cog. Mentor immediately noticed that Jaden and Scott were acting weird, so he used his symbol power to get rid of the curse, where of course, they're now best buddies and they team up to fight the evil forces. Now wait, hold on just a sword spinning minute. Why did Jaden and Scott pretend to be rivals? Think about this. This is the big moment of the movie. The movie is literally called Clash of the Red Rangers. Jaden and Scott fight only to say "got ya," and then they just do a full frontal attack on the bad guys. They were never in a position where they needed to trick Professor Cog in the first place. What was stopping them from literally just showing up to the quarry as friends, skip the act, and jump straight into the fight? Maybe if the Samurai Rangers called Jaden and said, "Buy us some time, we're working on a way back home," then sure, this act makes sense. But as it stands, they just put on a show with no real endgame. Apart from to fool us, the viewer? Because if you'll remember, back at the Shiba house, why were they arguing with each other on the way to the quarry? It's because us, the viewers, don't know that they're fixed yet.
Piece of cake for me. For him, not so sure.
See you later, buddy.
But in universe, they're just yelling at each other for the fun of it, I guess. Anyway, they get into a fight and Jaden uses his symbol power to give Scott a car, which is kind of fun, I guess. We also get a cool moment where Scott gets to use the shark attack mode. It looks really clean. I love the mashup of these costumes. The Samurai Rangers then just magically show up. I guess we can assume Dr. K created a portal.
Scott, your team says hi.
That's your crossover with the other RPM Rangers, by the way. Hope you liked it. Anyway, kill this guy. But the fight's not over yet. There's still an entire army of Moogers and Grinders being led by this guy. Who the hell is this? The fight scene is very good though. I'm not sure how much of it is Sentai footage, but there's plenty of combat on the horse with Scott and Antonio running over Moogers in their car. It is one of the more exciting fights I've seen. Jaden then activates the shark attack mode, and it's treated like it's the first time anyone's ever seen it. Not only did Scott use it 10 minutes ago, but it's already been used in the show. But it does lead to Jaden's one and only cool line.
No! I won't see it end this way!
Then you should close your eyes.
That's pretty cold. The Rangers then summon the Megazord, while Scott is fixing the car. Yeah, it's like overheated or something, so he needs to deal with that, while the Rangers do the actual fighting. This right here, this is perfect. This sums up the movie perfectly. A really nice thing that's broken down and needs fixing. So they destroy the monster, and now it's time for Scott to head home. They take him to the train station, and he says bye. I mean, what else do you expect? It's not like they shared any moments or anything. It's also Mike, for some reason, who walks him to his area, where Scott mentions the Mike and Emily romance. The episode literally ends on a shot of Emily looking cute while Mike is like, "Yeah, that's for me!" And that's how Clash of the Red Rangers comes to an end. Oh brother, these guys stink! So yeah, Clash of the Red Rangers is not only one of the biggest wasted potentials in team-up history, but it's also the biggest waste of time. It does nothing a good crossover should. It doesn't expand the lore, build the characters, there's no fun interactions or hype moments. The team-up morph is honestly, in my opinion, the one thing you need to get right. Your entire crossover can suck, but if the morph is exciting, I know my brain will shut off and I'll be jumping with joy with a smile on my face like an idiot. For example, the Lost Galaxy Lightspeed Rescue crossover is also total garbage. But that morph is so fun that I'm willing to forgive some of it. But because of the position this crossover is in, we can't get that. We don't even get the little RPM jingle, you know? The dun 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 dun. There was a lot of potential with Clash of the Red Rangers, especially since this crossover is in a unique position. It takes place during the events of the previous season, which has only been done like once. The wormhole crossover in SPD, that's a great example of how you do something like that. Hell, any Power Rangers crossover does more than this. This really is the shining Saban example of what makes Power Rangers fun, caring about nothing else other than, look, there's 2 Red Rangers, please buy the toys now. This movie adds nothing to RPM or Samurai. Not having the Samurai Rangers and RPM Rangers interact in any way should be criminal. What was stopping you from just showing a fight scene with the RPM Rangers and having random people dub in the "Hi-yahs"? Look, I'll do it myself. Ha ha ha! Now, according to some sources online, apparently the original version of this movie was very long, almost like 2 hours or something. Yeah, you know, the length of a movie. However, because of its length, some things needed to be cut out. And there was reportedly a scene with the RPM Rangers and the other Samurai Rangers interacting. But that was deemed not important, so they cut that out, so they can instead keep in the important scenes, like the race to the quarry with Jaden and Scott. Yeah, that scene, that was really important. Honestly, the Samurai world is so boring. It would have been way more fun to see the Samurai Rangers interact with the hellscape that is the RPM universe. But again, the worst part of this, in my opinion, is removing all the nuance that made Scott a good and interesting character, and instead, just turning him into someone completely different. A tech-obsessed wise-ass. That way he could have some kind of fun interaction with the Samurai Rangers. When he lands the final strike on Professor Cog, he says, "Told you I'd never give up!" Which is the worst Neo Saban writing ever. Every season of Power Rangers from here on out has them touting that bland phrase. And making Scott do it is the final nail of bastardizing his character. Scott's only ever a smartass with Dylan because he presses him as leader. I think you could have had that dynamic with Jaden as well, having two Red Rangers, but that would take some effort, and clearly the only reason this exists is so you can see the two Red Rangers and Soy Jack face. This movie had all the potential, but unfortunately will go down as the worst Power Rangers team-up event. At least for now. Yeah, congrats. One season later, you'd be outdone by the dumpster fire that is Super Megaforce. Now, before we wrap this up, I wanted to do a little experiment. For the sake of fairness, I wanted to see if I was being too harsh on the movie. So, I went on Twitter and put just simply the movie poster of Clash of the Red Rangers and said, thoughts on this? I haven't built a narrative before this. I wanted to see if I was being too mean and what the general consensus was on this movie. So, here is the Twitter review of Clash of the Red Rangers. Markusatsu says yes. That's a great start. Then we have pissed me off. To keep it very simple, short, and to the point. Here we go. Even as a kid who hadn't seen RPM, I thought it was weird as hell that we just never saw Mike, Emily, Kevin, and Mia in the RPM world with the RPM team, and then they just kind of come back. It's like a B plot that was just cut from the movie. Exactly! The biggest problem with this movie, not the biggest, one of the biggest, is literally just removing half of it. Okay. Fun fact, literally half of this movie isn't even footage from Shinkenger vs. Go-Onger the movie. Most of it, particular General Gut, is taken from the Shinkenger movie. Oh, I actually did not know that. So the things that I thought were the American stuff, which were the horseback riding fight, is not from the crossover movie. That's a great start. Isn't it two specials put together in one? Yes. The only best thing to come from Samurai. That is such a sad low bar, but I wouldn't be too offended if someone said that, because it's kind of the truth. It was okay. They could have done better for it. Out of all the crossovers we've gotten, they made both Red Rangers have a rivalry, which was ridiculous. I think I'm okay with the rivalry, but it's just the fact that, yeah, it was done poorly. You can do it right. Let's see. Sucked. Not having all the RPM cast return proved that this will be the death of the seasonal crossovers. Oh, man, you know, that is true. Because Megaforce had the movie, which isn't really, or not the movie, but the whole season, so that doesn't really count as a crossover. Then you had the Ninja Steel, what was it? Dimensions in Danger, which is not really that good in my opinion, but we'll get there, don't worry. And Cosmic Fury had, like, Billy and stuff, but still, like, it's the actual seasonal crossover. Yeah, absolutely, this was the nail in the coffin. RPM carried that whole thing, and the Fraud Squad didn't do shit as per usual. It's so funny when comparing RPM to Samurai. The Samurai are constantly lamer. Very true. In the comics, they get no-diffed by Drakon, but RPM put up enough of a fight to warrant two evil Ranger teams. Of course. Even in the comics, the RPM team carries. Let's see here. As a kid, I loved it. Oh, so there we go. See, this is what I was kind of looking for. Something positive. Up to this point, to be fair, we have had no positivity. As a kid, I loved it. The movie introduced me to the whole world of Power Rangers. Now I understand why it's not so beloved, because it could have been better with the other Rangers, but I still love it because it's two of my favorite Red Rangers, and they're the main focus of the crossover movie. So that's a good point. You know, again, like I've always said with Power Rangers, what you grow up with is always going to have a special place in your heart. I remember it aired on Thanksgiving because they were mentioning it on the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. Oh, I must not have caught that. That's pretty funny. What a big event. You literally had the biggest advertisement possible on the Thanksgiving Parade, and this is what you delivered. Actual unhinged nonsense. I liked it. Understandable why we couldn't see Scott given the circumstances. Okay, some more positivity. I'd like to have an actual explanation for Professor Cog. Don't worry. Do not worry. We'll never get one. Let's see. A creative way of adapting a Sentai team-up movie. Okay, that's fine as an opinion. Trash. This was a bunch of trash gifts. No Ziggy, therefore bad. I would have to agree with you on that. He had that shit on. So it's like the positive. The movie. It's a movie. Don't yell at me. It's the movie. Oh, that's okay. Not harmless. Not the most pleasant thing. Good and bad. It was bad. Trash. So it seems to be the general consensus is that it's not very good. Which, you know, it's nice to see some vindication. I think I got some quote tweets on it. Let's see what we got here. I'm sorry, I'm afraid I can't answer that question because I don't know if I can breathe the air here. So it's a meme. It's a joke at this point that everyone knows how stupid the plot line of this movie was. I also got ratioed. Like my tweet has 100 likes. This one has 900. I can't believe I got owned. Some of the best samurai could offer, and that says a lot. Very true. Wasted potential. I'd understand why they couldn't bring back the actor. Why even do this? It's a good point. Like, honestly, this is always a question. This is always the things you have to battle with. Would you rather have something bad or nothing at all? And I always sometimes believe, unfortunately, the answer is nothing at all. So, yeah. It seems to be nobody likes this. Boring, 2 out of 10, but I liked RPM, so I gave it a 4. And I can't judge you for that. So, that was my review of the movie. Power Rangers Clash of the Red Rangers is bad. Let me know what you think, though. If you didn't make it on Twitter and make it in the replies here, you can always let me know in the comments. Mwah! See you later!